Hello and welcome. Today we are delving into a cutting edge topic that is revolutionizing the world of medical research. If you are interested in medicine, artificial intelligence, or both, you are in for a treat. Join us as we explore how ChatGPT, a key player in digital era revolution, breaks down the barrier in medical research, makes complex concepts accessible, and helps researchers navigate an ocean of scientific literature. Let's get started. Let's discuss what you cannot. First of all, we'll talk about what you cannot or should not be doing with ChatGPT. First of all, you should not tell it to write an article or a piece of your scientific writing for you. And I will let you know why that is the case. Because you have to understand how ChatGPT works. In simple words, it generates the language. It's based on the historical data. So sometimes there is a concept which is known as AI hallucination. What that means is that models like ChatGPT will create some information which is not there. So whatever scientific information that you have created with the help of an AI like ChatGPT, you have to manually check the accuracy of that and the correctness of that. Therefore, at this stage, it is not at all recommended for several reasons, and one important reason being that it generates information that may not be factually correct. The next important thing you should not be doing with the help of ChatGPT is that you shouldn't directly copy and paste the response from ChatGPT into your paper or any other writing. Again, that's something somewhat related to the previous point, but another important reason why you would not be want to do it is, first, that is not your work. Secondly, that just like plagiarism, these days there are AI content detectors. So journals can detect the content which have been generated by a model like ChatGPT, and then you may be penalized for that. You should not expect it to generate a code that works seamlessly. For example, ChatGPT can be used to generate code. Or you can tell it to do something for you, but I'm going to talk in a bit how that functionality of ChatGPT can be used. But what you cannot expect is that, for example, tell ChatGPT to write a Python code to make a XYZ application for me, or write an R code to make a Shiny application for me, or something like that. What you would want to do is to break that code generation process in chunks and pieces, and you would want to treat ChatGPT as your an intelligent assistant, but that needs some guidance and bits and pieces. Okay. So it won't, another important thing which we are interested to know about ChatGPT that you should not be doing, that it won't provide you information on current research or be an expert in one specific field. One important reason for this point is that because the data set ChatGPT itself claims on which it is built is till September 2021, which means that if some research articles are getting published after any date after that, then ChatGPT will not have an access to that, or ChatGPT will not have access to any data on internet which is produced or that has been uploaded anytime after September 2021. Additionally, you cannot expect ChatGPT to be an expert on a specific field. Any information that you get from ChatGPT that is required to be interpreted in the you have to get it reviewed from the expert of that specific field, so that you do not end up making wrong decisions based on the information which is provided to you by ChatGPT. So then, now this brings us to the important question and the topic for our today's discussion, that how can we use ChatGPT? So one area on which I use ChatGPT quite often, in that is if you're writing a review on subtopic, if you're doing an exhaustive literature search on a specific topic and you are clueless, that topic is alien to you and you do not have an idea, or you may not be a subject expert in that area, what you can do is that tell ChatGPT that I'm writing a review article on this thing, or you are writing a book on that area, or whatever scientific or non-scientific writing you are doing in a specific area, what you can tell ChatGPT is to make an outline for you. And because of its ability to have an access to different data sets and multiple data sets, and it has access to a huge set of information, so it will be able to generate an excellent outline for you, which you can use in your research. And you can use that again, any word you should for all practical reasons, you should not always remember the rule that you should avoid copy pasting the information which is generated by ChatGPT. So whatever information it is used, try your best to paraphrase it before using it, but just use that as an outline for your research work. Again, another important area where I should have mentioned this in the beginning, but I will just mention it now. These are the areas which I'm recommending. Those are the things which I do on a regular basis, and I've experienced doing so, and I found ChatGPT very useful in this. So the next thing which I have found ChatGPT to be very useful in, for example, you get a jargon from a specific field which is alien to you, and then you can quickly, I mean, one way is to easily Google it, but you can tell it quickly that, okay, what does this jargon means in this field? For example, what does this jargon mean in psychology, psychiatry, etc., or any other specific field? Or what does this mean in finance, or so forth? Or you can put an acronym which is commonly used in a specific field, but you are not familiar to that acronym, and you can put it to ChatGPT and write, okay, this is an acronym which I've seen in a say financial document. What does it means in a financial document, and so on. So that is a very useful way to use ChatGPT, which I've found based on my experience. Sometimes what you can do is that you may want to write something which is not used for scientific purposes, but that may be from scientific purposes. I mean that is not for the purpose of publication, but that is the part of some report or the footer of a paper of a figure or stuff like that, or maybe that is an email which is needed to be written. What you can do is that write a very rough first draft and give it to ChatGPT and tell it to refine it and write it in a maybe formal tone, maybe in a business tone, maybe in a scientific tone. And you can also tell ChatGPT to proofread for you, improve the grammar of it for you, and it will add all the punctuations. And then because that specific output from ChatGPT, because the intention is not to be used for any manuscript or any other place, for example, like an assignment on your paper or on your exam or on your course. Therefore, what you can do is that you can copy paste that text into for whatever use you have for it. Okay. Another very useful use of ChatGPT, which I found out, is that you can use it to debug code. What does that mean? Now, I've used it in two ways. For example, you run a code and it gives an error. I do a lot of R coding. So if I get an error, what I do, I copy paste the error into the ChatGPT as it is, and sometimes I would enter the code, and most of the time I just copy paste the error into ChatGPT and just the ChatGPT is smart enough to understand what I mean, and it would automatically spell out the solution or the possible solutions for this. Another way which I've used ChatGPT to solve the code, debug by code for me, is that there's a piece of code in whatever language I'm using, mostly R. I will just copy that piece of code into ChatGPT and tell it to identify any possible any errors in that code. And so, to my surprise, ChatGPT is excellent in identifying that error and correcting that code for you, because sometimes in these code chunks, your error may be, for example, at some point you are missing a comma or the indentation is not right in case of Python or stuff like that. So sometimes it's very simple, but you need to be very cognizant, which as human beings, we sometimes tend to ignore. And then there is those of you who do coding, sometimes like there's one comma, or there's an extremely small thing, maybe some case sensitive or something like that. There's a very small thing and you are spending hours and hours in solving that. But if you do that with the help of ChatGPT, it can be almost instant solution. Another very, very useful capability of ChatGPT, which I found, is that it can translate one computational language into another. For example, if you're proficient in Python, you can just type the Python code, tell ChatGPT to translate it to R, and or likewise. So that is how I use ChatGPT mostly, and it works very well. And ultimately what you will do, because when you are navigating between different codes for whatever reasons, you become an introduction to the other language as well, because you get a parallel thinking mindset that, okay, if this thing is working this way in the language which I understand, how can I do the same thing in another language? So it will help you understand that. Okay, you can get ChatGPT to generate code for you, and this is a very, and in my next point I'm going to talk about how it affects your efficiency. So, but an important caveat over here is that you would want to divide your tasks into, if you are doing, for example, if you're doing your data analysis, so and one way is that I write the code. Another thing is, okay, I will tell it, okay, now import the data, write a code for me to import the data from this pathway into R. Then, and the next thing is that, okay, I have a data frame named this thing, this, for example, DF, and for run descriptives for these columns for me. And so what you can do is that the coding process has become extremely easy. You just need to understand in your mind what exactly you want it to do, and then tell ChatGPT to write a code in R or Python to do this, and you'll be surprised that how well it is doing the code writing for you. And that brings to me to the next point, that when you use ChatGPT to generate code for you in different computing languages like R or Python, what it does is that it improves your efficiency of data analysis, because normally what you need to do is that if you're doing analysis with the help of R or Python, you have to either write it manually, sometimes you're stuck, there's some debugging and stuff like that. But if you divided the code into small pieces and then use prompts in ChatGPT to generate the code, and then sometimes the code may not work. So then you will go back to ChatGPT and there are some problems, but most of the time in my experiences, it works. Sometimes if the task is very complicated, it may not work, but that is rare. In data analysis, I've mostly found that it works. But if there's some problem, you can tell ChatGPT again, and it will give you an alternative solutions, and you can have this iteration. But ultimately, the overall time which is taken to do data analysis by the on R using ChatGPT for me reduces, therefore in improving the efficiency of data analysis process. Okay, now another very useful utility of ChatGPT is that you can automate repetitive code. And there is a very specific example which I did it. For example, so somebody sent me a data set, and that data set had a variable that had birth date, and most of the rows had date. I mean, that data set had around actually more than 1 million rows, and some of the variables were some of the rows, the birth date was just weird numbers, like for minus something or something which is so obvious that it cannot be birth date. So what I did, I ran the frequency of that variable and just pasted the out of the frequency from R. I just pasted those values which I thought are not making sense at all, right? And there were a lot of values. I would say that more than hundreds. And so an alternative way was that I would have had to copy each one of them or manually type them, and that would have taken me hours. So what I did, I copied those wrong, out of the frequencies, those wrong levels into ChatGPT, and told ChatGPT that remove these levels from the birth date variable in this data frame. And to my surprise, ChatGPT was intelligent enough not only to recognize what I was saying, but it provided me the code that had all that requirement, and it was just immediate. Another important thing for which you can use ChatGPT is to translate between different languages, like from English to Spanish, French, German, Italian, Dutch, Russian, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Portuguese. And on these languages, ChatGPT claims to have a better grasp. But when I ask ChatGPT itself that can you translate in Urdu or Hindi, and here is the reply from ChatGPT. I quote, while I can perform translations in these languages and it can generate text in Urdu and Hindi, the quality and accuracy and fluency may not be very high. So ChatGPT itself claims that the quality or of the text that is generated in English or Urdu would not be high, but it can be used for other languages, which I just mentioned. Now, in the last part of my video, what I'm trying to throw to you some potential ideas which I'm going to experiment. And if you get an idea, if you get a chance, you can, as viewer of this video, you can experiment on these topics, on these areas, that how are your findings, and then share your findings with us in the comments. And if I find something or my viewers can find something, we can make another video on that. So my interest is further in knowing that, for example, if I give an article in the form of a text, I paste an article in the text and the whole of the article, and ask ChatGPT to critically evaluate the article. How does that ChatGPT responds on that, or how good the response is to that? So another idea is that how we can scrape data from different places, and how the scraped data can be analyzed with the help of ChatGPT. I don't have any idea because I haven't done that. If somebody have any experience on that, please share with me share that with me. The third is that I'm very much interested in learning, for example, if we throw a lot of qualitative data to ChatGPT, and would it be able to identify the themes and do the coding for us and stuff like that, and do the qualitative analysis and spit out the results for us. That is something which I have not yet figured out a way to do that, or the results of that. So if anybody has some information on that, please share that information with me. I'm obviously interested in that, how we can use the ChatGPT API or the relevant models to convert raw data from patient charts into structured data sets, which can be used for data analysis. And very important, and I think I would rate this thing, and it will be an important area of research for ethicists as well, that how, while using ChatGPT, how would we be able to comply with the data privacy issues and the other ethical dilemmas which we may face, especially, for example, if you are doing data analysis and if you are sharing data with the ChatGPT, we are putting that data in the form of a prompt. What are the ethical implications of that? So these are some areas. The last one other thing, and I think this is the last which I forgot, is because ChatGPT has the ability to read other languages. So what I can do is that I can paste ChatGPT an article which is published in languages other than English, for example, in Chinese, in Japanese, and Korean. And as you know, a lot of research is being done in these languages, which a lot of research is done which is published in these languages, but as English speakers and doing all our research in English, we are almost blinded to this literature. So how good ChatGPT will be in helping us to bridge that gap. So these potential applications of ChatGPT paint an exciting picture of the future. The world of medical research is vast and complex, but with tools like ChatGPT, we can begin to navigate this world more efficiently and effectively. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of ChatGPT and its role in medical research. We hope this has sparked your interest and curiosity. Let us know in the comments if you have used ChatGPT and how was your experience using it. We look forward to hearing from you and see you in the next video.